The Kenyan job market presents both challenges and opportunities, especially for the youths. And there are many concerns on the rising unemployment rates in the country. But at the same time, there are sectors which are trying to create employment, among them the digital space as well as the tech space. And tonight on The Shift, my colleague Regina Manyara is focusing on university funding. Are institutions doing enough in preparing the students for the job market? Back to you, Regina.
Thank you for indulgence. We pick up this conversation where we left. We are talking about student placement, bridging the gap. And the question we are posing to you back at home, do you think Kenyan universities and colleges are preparing students for the job market? Do you think Kenyan universities and colleges are adequately preparing students for the job market? So, CEO Kuccps, what is your take on that question? Do you think we are preparing our students for the job market, the universities and colleges? What's your take?
The universities and colleges over the years have been training students mainly for the job market. But it is important to keep finding out how is the job market changing. How are we, like we have seen there's a lot of uptake of technology. Years back we had the secretaries who would type and take notes using shorthand. We don't have that nowadays. So the universities and colleges are aligning. They are trying their best to align to the current job market. Yeah. Use uptake of technology, artificial intelligence, and I think they're doing it.
They're trying to catch up or align. Now, this is how Kenyans polled on that question. We had asked you, do you think Kenyan universities and colleges are preparing students for the job market? These are the results. They are being displayed on your screen there. So 60 say yes, while 246 at the moment say no. Yes, 60, no, 246. So, CEO held, Samonari, what is your immediate reaction to the same poll?
I think it's a misconception because these students are the ones who apply for these programs, and these programs are readily available. The challenge would be in terms of their own preparation, so that when they leave the university, they are not as well prepared as they should be. But the universities are offering the best that they can be able to give to the market. Is that we urge students to be able to ensure that they go through the programs as they're required, so that they can be able to, when they go into employment, they don't have to be trained again. And I think that is where the misconception comes in, so because of the extra training that comes in.
So for you, Monari, it's not the courses, but the individual capacities. What do you leave the institution with?
Yes.
We will pick it up from there. We'll pick it up from there. Now, as CEO Kuccps, Dr. Agnes, you're tasked with overseeing the placement of students. What has been your major, change that you have seen in student preferences or expectations over the years?
Yeah, I can say over the years I've been in this institution since 2018. Well, I took over as a CEO in 2020. One of the major changes that we've made is to ensure that students end up into the programs which they make the choices themselves. We take seriously the student's choice. I can say some years back, just like my colleague Geoffrey said, students would find themselves in the program that they may not have selected. For one reason or another, probably they either chose courses that were more demanding in terms of the grades that one needed to attain. But as up to even 2018, 2019, would find that students would select and then would have courses that don't have students, and we have students who had not made their choices, and we would do what we call sharing. that is something that we have moved away from. And we said, you have to make a choice. We only place you in a program that you have made your choice. Because as you say, when Kenyans say that universities and colleges may not be preparing the students well, probably they ended up in a program they did not choose. So they end up not performing to the best of their ability. But when you start, when we look at the choice of the students and we start preparing them early enough while they're in Form 1 and 2, then we expect to see better outcomes in terms of the match between one's career choice and the program that they actually take while in college. Yeah.
We'll pick it up from there because we're getting quite the feedback in regard to the portal and how Kenyans are interacting with it. Now, since the portal was open in January, as you said, for those who are interested in TVET as well as KMTC, clarify under which model are students making the applications, you know, given the current stay orders? Under what model are we making these applications? Yeah.
There is we delinked placement and funding.
Correct.
Yeah, so that is a new government policy where we delink placement from funding, and we're saying students are first placed regardless of where, you know, their background, as long as they meet the minimum requirements for the programs they wish to take, then we give them that priority. And it's all about, like I said, the student's choice and merit. Now, funding, I would now allow my colleague to respond to that because we are now delinked.
So, Chief Helb, Jeffrey Minard, what informed this delinking, you know, of placement and funding? What was the thinking behind it?
It was important because not all students who are placed will require funding. So we had to delink. Previously, it was automatic that when you are placed, then you are given funding by the government. However, after the Presidential Working Party went around the country, the feedback they got is that there are students who do not require that funding. Therefore, we had to delink and follow what Kenyans wanted to be done and move from funding based on equality to equity.
Equality.
Yes.
Now we are focused on equity. We'll get back there. Now, there have been concerns, you know, that the portal is not user-friendly, Madam CEO. What is your take on this?
What I can say is where we are coming from. If you look at where we are now and where we are coming from, there's a great difference. Last year, we had an outcry where Kenyans were unable to access the system, and mainly this was because of the new integration with the e-citizen. The experience has been different because we saw the first thing that we did was to just avoid the situation where everybody is going into the system at the same time. That's why we opened in January, and we've been staggering the placements. So we opened on the 28th for university applications. Last year, a time like now, we had about 50,000 applications. Today, we are almost hitting 80,000, because yesterday we closed with 77,000. So we have been making adjustments both in the way we avail the programs to allow that staggering, but also enhance the speeds in our system, and we've actually improved the infrastructure and both the software to ensure that the experience is better.
All right.
So where one is unable to access, I would first want to check the internet, availability of good internet in the region.
Okay. So how inclusive is a portal for those who are abled differently?
We have a sign interpreter. Once you land on the portal, we have the sign interpreter. We also have something in our website that can improve the visual, how one sees in terms of, in case they have the issues with the vision. But I can say that is an area that we still need to do a bit more work, because for those who are able differently, we still expect them to engage with our staff. We have staff who are going around the country. We have some who are actually living with the challenges themselves, so they're able to understand the content in our system, and then provide sign interpretation. And then we have some staff who are actually sign interpreters. But I can say in terms of the hearing, those with the hearing that require sign, we still are relying a lot on support from other institutions to get.
Now, since we're talking about, having equity with this particular portal, before we take another quick breather. Now, students, how are you addressing, placement when it comes to students in marginalized areas? Because they seem to get lower placement rates because we are looking at performance, looking at KCP, KCSE. We find this a majority even of the two students are not meeting the bracket. How are we ensuring that affirmative action also benefits those in marginalized areas?
Okay. Before I just talk on the ones who are marginalized, I can say those who are living with disabilities, we have an affirmative action policy. So we lower the minimum entry requirements for them so that they are able to access the programs of choice, and then they do not have to also apply on the platform. We have the forms, so they do it physically, from the physical forms, and they can do this any time of the year. They are not bound to the deadlines that we give.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Then for the marginalized, yes. Again, we have a policy where we have 14 counties that can be considered under, having areas that are marginalized. And from those counties, again, students who, they first have to meet the minimum criteria for the program. By that, I say that if it is medicine, the minimum criteria for the subjects, they have to have 4 Bs in 4 subjects. This is English, mathematics, chemistry, and biology. So they have to meet that minimum. And then when we run the simulations to see how many students have actually applied for a program like medicine, you find that the clusters are quite high. So for students who are from marginalized areas, we lower the cluster points by 2.
Great. We
also have what we call enhanced affirmative action, where we ensure that for competitive programs, we have programs like medicine, architecture, engineering. There is a representation from every county. So we take the highest students of the county. So I can give a county that probably may not have a student who gets an A, but you have a student with a B+ who is the highest, and they have the minimum 4 subjects to take medicine. Then we are able to place them into that program.
All right.
Yeah.
That takes us to another break. When we come back, we're going to be now addressing the issues of funding. We have the CEO in charge of health, and he said we're focusing on matters of equity. Is it on ground? We'll be right back.
You are watching The Shift with Regina Manyara.
Welcome back. This is The Shift. We're looking at placement, student placement to be precise, and bridging the gap. I'm joined by none other than CEO Kuccps, Dr. Agnes Wame, as well as CEO HELB, that is Geoffrey Monari. And we have been looking at, what cadre or what is used to ensure that we have equity in placement. But the question is, to you, Monari, records show that despite the government, interventions in funding like HELB, a significant number of students from low-income backgrounds drop out even after placement. What are you doing to, to address this in this recent categorization that we have?
Thank you very much, Regina. We have given these students an opportunity to be able to appeal if the problem is funding. We have opened our portal for funding, and this was after a delay occasioned because there was a Kenya Human Rights Commission and a students' caucus and the Limu Bora who went to court to dispute the new funding model. So between last year, December, and 26th of March, we were not funding students. Therefore, there were challenges and there were students who dropped out because of this gap that we had. On 26th, the Court of Appeal was able to give us a stay with conditions. The first condition was that we open the portal for appeals so that the students who are not happy with the categorization could be able to be given an opportunity for them to appeal. We were also given 14 days to sensitize these same students so that they can be able to give us feedback. We finished that sensitization between 1st and 4th. We have been evaluating their feedback and we are incorporating that feedback in the appeals module that we are opening.
So, Chief, what was the main pain point, while you were doing this evaluation? What did the students actually identify as a challenge?
The main pain point is what I alluded to at the beginning, the expectation from the students that they were expecting to get the maximum scholarship and loan so that they could proceed with their studies. We are using a tool that is called the means testing instrument, which depends on the data that you are able to give it. As I said, that if you do not give the correct data, then you find that it will not also give you the correct results. Most of the time, because of many challenges, you find students who go and give the application forms to a cyber cafe because maybe they don't have the time and then allow these people to apply for them. Then, because you are not there, the data that is been given is not the correct data. And when the results come out, you are not satisfied. So we have given them another chance to be able to review and give us the correct data so that you can be able to analyze the applications and place them where they are meant to be.
All right. Now, there's a question of fairness in funding, and it's one of the feedback that we've gotten. Popular courses like medicine, engineering, law, and such attract quite the fee. But then we have courses like theology that do not attract as much. So we have many people leaving, getting unplaced, or rather not placed, under these popular courses. Then these ones are left with no one to fill. How does it impact on funding, You
see, funding depends on the program that you have chosen and you have been placed. And then we now fund based on your level of need.
All right.
So if you are a medicine student and you are placed in band 1, then it means you'll get 70% scholarship, 25% loan, and 5% you'll pay as a household.
Yes.
So that is the way we are able to fund these students. If you are not as needy, then you may be placed in band 5, where you'll be able to get a scholarship of 30%, loan of 30%, and the household is expected to give 40% of that funding if it's medicine.
Right.
And that is where the difference comes in. And we are endeavoring to see that we get the correct data so that we can place each student where they deserve to be.
It seems that there's a lot of misconception. We have moved from JAB, where we could share, these ones are here, we can. I think there's a lot. What are you doing about sensitization? Because it feels there's a lot of misinformation on ground, Daktari, as to, the placement and such. And also, now that we have delinked funding, it seems as if it's still that grey area that we are not too sure. How are you dealing with sensitization?
One thing we are saying is that issues of placement and choosing of programs should not come when you're in Form 4. By the time we are doing that, if you're hearing about it for the first time in Form 4, then there is a problem.
All right.
So we are walking the journey right from Form 1. And we have a program for Form 1 and 2 where we work with them to select the courses, not the courses, sorry, the subjects. So a student who wants to become an engineer, they need to know early enough that they have to take physics and they have to do well in mathematics. And we have seen that in the past. In the last 2 years, we would go to some schools and you could find students in Form 4 saying that they would like to do engineering, and they dropped physics.
Physics along the way, at Form 2. Yes.
So we are saying, and we are training teachers, because we work through the Huduma centers. We have officers in the Huduma centers, but they are not enough. So we are working through teachers, training teachers, and we are saying career guidance teacher is not the counselor, the counseling and psychology teacher that we have in school. There is a difference, so we have the pool of career teachers, and we are training them to work with the students, to help them identify their needs, their gifts, their talents, and how they can use that to match the careers that they want to pursue. If a student is good in sports, they may not be good in mathematics and other stuff. So what careers can they start looking at that are aligned to sports?
Dr. is where now we do STEM. We do CBC. I know by 2027 we'll have phased off 844.
Yes.
Then now we are looking at the competency-based.
Actually, it fits in so well with what we are talking about.
All right.
Because the students are able now to pick early enough and start working and finding out, okay, this is my interest, this is what I love.
Yeah.
And these are my, I have a talent in performing arts, drawing and all that. Then we start walking that journey. By the time they get to choosing now the colleges they want to go to, they have already put so much effort in the subjects that will get them there.
Okay.
If you look at where we are now, we have students who are A students. But this student has sat for arts, they have sciences, they have music in there. And when you ask them what they want to be, they almost
do not
have
know.
no idea.
Yes, true.
We have an A student has more problems in choosing careers than a C student.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Now, there have been reports of bribery by some private universities. From 2016, private universities who got into this particular placement strategy or model, so let's call it, so that they can get, a majority of the 5,000 slots. What is your take on that? This is just a critic who said there's a lot of, greasing of hands. Is it? What's your take?
I am not aware of that, because what we have in our system is a clear marking of the universities, where we put it out very clearly that the green are public universities, the red or pink, I don't know how you say it, but there's a different color, a bright color, that is for courses in the private universities. And we make it very clear that if you select, it tells you when you click onto a program that is under the private universities, the system clearly tells you you've selected a program that is not eligible for government scholarship. So even at the point where you are checking out, you've made your payments, you're ready now to exit, the system again asks you, you have selected a program and you will not be eligible for scholarship. Are you still willing to continue?
All right.
And when you say yes, then your application goes through. After we have run the system and we have placed the students, we allow the students to make, transfers. One may have selected a program out of fear of not being able to, not knowing whether they will make it. And, it happens that they get the cluster points that will get them into a program. in a public universities. We allow students to move from public to private and private to...
Yeah. So you allow that, depending.
We allow that. So I am not aware of where money changes hands.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Now, let's hear what members of the public have to say in regard to some of the questions that we had posed to them. First of all, is if universities have adequate and colleges have adequately prepared the students for the job market. This is Abdullahi Khalid Abdullah. Take it away.
There are some students that are not given the courses of their choice. You know, once your ambition is taken away, there's now no need to really rely on the further studies. So we would like the government to check on that. At least mtu apewe Kenya anataka kusoma.
The student placement is just to take place, but recently the university, I can say it's doing good in terms of placements of students, because it is always being done according to grades and according to whatever you scored in your KCSE, and maybe your course of study and what you are willing to study in the university.
Hii shule iko na shida. Hata kwa upande ya funds, tangu MPs wachaguliwe, hii shule iko na msoso between Loima and Central. Hii shule tunahitaji president wetu aongee na Minister of Education, kwa sababu yeye ndio anatakana aangalie shule kwa makini, kwa sababu kuna madhara itafanyika kutokea leo.
Yes, the university is, but currently in Kenya, due to the situation that in Kenya, it is evident that many of the students are always graduating, but finding job opportunities in Kenya is very difficult. You can find an undergraduate student graduating very well, but now getting a job opportunity is very difficult. But the universities are actually making students to get opportunity outside there.
No life. Kwa sababu watoto wetu tunataka wapate kesho maisha mazuri, tafadhali tunaomba msaada kwa hii shule yetu ya Ntaprakakono. Hata mkutuweke madarasa kwa hali haraka tu, kwa sababu hii madarasa ni si ya kutumiwa kwa sasa. Inaporomoka wakati wote.
Yes, now let's hear from the panel. What is your immediate reaction to what Kenyans had to say? Let's start off with you, Wanari, as at the helm of HELB. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think my take on this is that we need to do more work on sensitization.
Yes.
So that the public can know that what you are able to, the programs that you choose are the ones that you'll be placed in. The criteria is very clear, and also funding follows the student. So if you choose a certain program, then you'll be able to be funded depending on the cost of that program. So what I think is mostly is that a lot of sensitization needs to go into place. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation in place. So I urge Kenyans to be able to come to the institutions that have been placed with the responsibility to fund and place students so that they get the correct information.
All right, Daktari, what's your immediate reaction to what Kenyans had to say?
Yeah, my reaction, especially on the students who said that they make choices and then they end up in a program that they did not what would have been their preferred program. We notice that students select courses, you know, in a way you ask, what career would you want to take? And almost everybody in a class would say medicine. I'd like Kenyans to know there are more programs other than medicine that are equally, there is no bad program. All programs are good, all programs are marketable. It depends on what you do with the degree or the certificate that you attain.
Okay.
I say this because a program like medicine, we place less than 1,000 students when you look across all the universities that offer medicine. But the number of students who apply are more than 10,000. You know, we can get up to 10,000 students who say they want to take medicine. So they may all not fit in the programs that we have. So I would wish Kenyans to be more, to take more time when selecting their programs. Again, when they are selecting the schools, the universities, we are now placing in 70 universities. So, but our students want to just look at some universities,
yes.
the old universities.
The prestige, the name.
Yes, but when you look at the course, for example, education, if I do education in whatever part of this country, if the university is a registered university, I will qualify to be registered by TSC. If I do nursing or medicine, I will be registered by the professional board. Okay. And at no time will a patient ask where you went to university.
I like that.
Yes,
they will not ask, they just want you to be qualified.
Yes, yes, and the professional body is one.
All right.
So let's choose the course and not the name of
the prestige.
The name of the institution.
Now,
yes.
You've brought us to this conversation. We have seen the government has been working at elevating TVETs, but then I would want to share some quick summary of statistics and facts. Maybe they can be played on your screen back at home. This is just a comparison of placement between TVETs as well as university placements. This is data from KNBS as well as Kuccps 2023. So the demand for TVETs courses from that particular demonstration on that table that you're seeing is low, while we have demand for universities high because of prestige. Enrollment rate as far as 2023 was concerned, we had 40,000. University, we were looking at 120,000. Graduate employability, practical skills are very demanding. That is the advantage, comparative advantage that TVETs have over universities who have some who are employed, some who are not. Government funding under TVETs, we have capitation of grants, HELB, and TVET, while universities also have regular HELB and NSFAS. We have the CEO here. He's going to tell us exactly what that means, as well as industry linkages there. We're finding that TVETs are finding themselves, more difficult for them to get placement, or rather meet markets. Maybe it's because people still hold prestige or rank, especially to the certificates and such, especially from the universities. When it comes to placement, industry linkages, we also have universities facing some challenges there. Moderate, some have partnerships. Still on statistics, before we get into the details, the conversations on TVETs, let's have a graphical representation of the course trends under TVETs so far. So the most and least subscribed TVET courses are as follows. What is very on high demand among the TVETs? This is we're going to have it play on your screen. Electrical engineering is at the very top in TVETs. Mechanical engineering, ICT and computer science, automotive engineering, hospitality, and culinary arts. These are the most demanded TVET courses. Now, low demand TVET courses, according to, if they are attracting students there when they're seeking placement. We have leather technology, textile engineering, food technology, agricultural mechanics, and building and technology. To my two guests here tonight, those are just statistics that have been proven by KNBS as well as Kuccps. So what, in your opinion, is hampering TVET placement? Let's start with you, Dr. Ari.
First, I'd like to note that data may not be up to date.
Yes, that's 2023.
Yes, that's because currently the uptake of TVET has gone very high. We have had campaigns where we are encouraging students who finished Form 4 to join TVET institutions. And initially we would have just one placement in a year. So when you see that, it could be just a one. But now the placement for TVET is ongoing. In fact, since we started the competency-based education at TVET level, you can go in any time of the year, because it's modular.
Okay.
So you do your modules and you can get out, go back to the job market. So the uptake of TVET has really gone up.
All right.
We are also having more students who qualify for university. That's C+ and above who are opting to take TVET courses. And when you say the programs there, the electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those students are actually C+ and above.
Wow.
Because the demand is higher. A student who scores a C+ with very good grades in physics and mathematics would rather go and start off at a diploma level than go to a university with a C+ and start and take a program in the arts subjects. So we are seeing, as we speak, the students who we've already placed before we even opened for university placement, 7,000 of those who had C+ and above had already taken up TVET.
All right. Now, some feedback, some critics have termed the TVET curricula as outdated. What is your take on that? Do you think it is? Is it meeting? Now, you've said, you have the statistics that we do not have. These are critics. What would you say about that?
One thing that the government has done is to bring back TVET CDAC.
Okay.
And I don't speak for the institutions, but we place students to take programs that are examined by TVET CDAC, which came back immediately after the elections, I think.
Yes.
The Kenya Kwanza government brought back CDAC.
Maybe you can unpack what does CDAC mean?
CDAC. TVET yes. CDAC. This is competency-based education in TVET, where students are examined more on their technical skills rather than theory.
All right.
Previously, they would just do the KCSE, which is NEC examined, a lot of theory. Then they go and do a technical course in a TVET institution, and they are examined by the same NEC using the same formula of looking at the theory. So with CDAC now, 60% is technical, practical, and then 40%
is theory.
Yeah, so you find there's an improvement in the uptake, and there is also closing of the gap between what is taught and what the industry requires.
Right.
Because again, they are also training more, spending more time in the field, in industry, and therefore addressing the needs of industry.
Yeah. Well, now let's bring in Geoffrey Munari. When we talk about TVETs, what is your take in that particular trend? The students, when they're applying for this financial aid and such, what's the trend that you have observed? And there's a quick question here. So what happens to those who default on the help?
Let me start with TVET.
Yes.
For the technical courses, we have noted that the students who undertake TVET, because they are required to be registered by the registering bodies, complete their studies. Where we have a problem with TVET is programs like masonry, programs where if you are able to learn quickly, you can get a job. So you find that some of these students, before they complete their certificate programs, they stop learning and start working. Therefore, we have given them a loan. They have not completed the 3 years or the 2 years, depending on whether it was craft or artisan, and yet they have already started building houses. So you find that they leave without completing. There's a percentage of that. But for the technical ones like electrical engineering, because they will be required to be registered with certified bodies, then they'll be able to complete. And that is a trend that we have seen.
So does this speak to the default rate? Where are we at right now?
Currently, we have a default rate of 35%. We have 316,000 Kenyans who went through university and have not started paying.
So what are you doing about it?
We are following them up to start paying. Just to give you a picture of what we are saying, to date, HELB has supported 1.7 million Kenyans. and 1 million approximately have finished their studies. And out of these you find that out of the 1 million, 400,000 are repaying their loans, 300 have not started, and 200 approximately have completed their studies. Yeah. So the ones that we are looking at are the 300,000 students who are not repaying. If you don't repay, then there's a penalty that is charged onto your account. However, we don't want to reach there. We want to encourage Kenyans who are able to pay their loan to start paying their loan. Yes.
All right. So as we come to a close, Monari there, what has been set aside, or rather what has been proposed in the financial year 2025-2026 to support HELB, or rather higher learning?
Yes, currently we have a budget for the next financial year. Yes. The budget is at 34 billion. Uh-huh. We will be seeking to get more funds because that may not be enough, but that is the budget we have for now, because the number of students is increasing every year. Okay. And I believe that the funds will be availed.
All right. Very well said. That puts a cap on matters hits and misses when you're looking at student placement, with a clarion call to have the right data as you're making this particular application. Kenya has come of age where we are, or rather we have separated, placement for your courses and the funding. We have been discussing this with none other than CEO in charge of HELB, that is a Higher Education Loans Board. Thank you very much, Geoffrey Munari, for your time, as well as our host tonight, where we are domiciled. This is Kuccps headquarters that we have been hosting, none other than Chief Executive Officer here, that is Dr. Agnes Mercy Wahome. Thank you very much for your time. I'm Regina Manyara. I hand you back to Broadcasting House for the rest of the programming.
You are watching The Shift with Regina Manyara.